Pay attention. Okay. Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik, and I'd like to talk about some of the ambassadors who testified in front of the impeachment committee, or what I call the ersatz impeachment committee, in other words, the fake one. There is no grounds for impeachment here. If there were grounds for impeachment in terms of dealing for his own private goods, that is Trump, then you better put Cheney and Bush Jr. away from prison, because they are the ones who started the Iraq War, and guess for what? Cheney's oil company and Bush's oil companies. And then Clinton had her company, which was Clinton Foundation, and she sold off American uranium to the Russians, and that was for personal gain. So let's not be hypocritical about it. But today I want to talk a little bit about our ambassadors in general, and some of them in particular. Ambassador Taylor, Ambassador Kent, I'm sure they're well-meaning individuals, but for the most part, ambassadors really don't mean very much for us in the senior positions of the State Department. And the reason for that is, as I've said before, it's an antiquated system. We have 75,000 people all over the world, and we really don't need to have that many people. We don't need to have them protected. We don't need to be overseas. For the most part now, we have what's called virtual diplomacy, and that's created through the internet, videos, and all other types of modern equipment. So having somebody in an embassy, protecting that embassy, and having FSOs is really antiquated, and that's what you're seeing right now. More importantly, the ambassador who came out to talk, Ambassador Kent and Taylor, but Maria, the last one, was somebody who piqued my interest. And I'm going to say why. And the answer is, like Vindman and some of the others who testified, she was born in Russia. Now, what's unusual about that? Nothing. She was born in Russia, speaks perfect Russian, undoubtedly, and parents went to Canada first. They didn't come to the United States, so they came to Canada, meaning the U.S. didn't accept them initially. Then they came to the United States, and she went to a very private elite school, what's called the Episcopalian, the Kent School in Connecticut, which is near Hotchkiss, and Hotchkiss was near Lakeville. I knew all about it. But these are the elite private schools that really recruit some of the top students for their various languages and different cultures. And if you look at their video, it sounds great, and it has all the right words and the right attitudes in terms of diversity. But what makes Maria really different and unusual is she was not naturalized. She was 18. Then she came and took a foreign service exam. I don't buy that. And the reason I don't buy that, I happen to know that if you are a Russian female and you come to the United States, the first agency that would really like to help you and your parents, albeit their Russian parents, is none other than the CIA. And why is that? Because the CIA needs to have people who were born in that culture and in that particular area. The Russian speakers who are acquired Russian here in the United States are not as good as the native speakers who are Russian speakers. And in fact, I would suspect that Maria Yovabitch, or whatever she wants to call herself as minister, ambassador, or ambassador, is really a CIA operative from the very beginning, because the Kent School was a feeding school from Connecticut, like Hotchkiss was, like Yale, into the CIA. And then as we in the political part of the State Department, we provide cover for the agency, albeit its ambassadors. So in effect, they have two jobs for the price of one. Now, having said that, my point is very simple. In the State Department, you can have on the record, you can have a cable, but we don't communicate that way. There are other channels of communication, and she knew about these other channels, as did Kent and Taylor. What you hear, what you say is not as important as what we call back channel, namely it comes in through another way or another person. Secondly, we have two-track diplomacy, which is what Trump was doing. He has one track, either saying it directly to his ambassador or to Giuliani, and then secondly, the ambassador acts as a second track, and then we have a third track, and so on and so forth. So the lawyers have to be very specific about what they're talking about, and Schiff has no idea of what he's talking about. Neither do the ambassadors have any idea of what they just replied to, because in fact, there is no absolute truth in national security. Having said that, let me just say, when you become more Catholic than the Pope, as she did, you become too straightforward, too religious, and too sanctimonious. And in fact, Mark Twain said, when you have a lot of words where you say very or mean very little, that's called diplomacy.
Thank you and good night. Good night. Thank you and good night.